Hi everyone, it's Chris. Today I have a quick watercolor card to share with you. I am trying out the new Altenew Watercolors, and I'm going to be using this stamp set that is also rather new to me, even though I ordered it a while ago. This is called Hello Gorgeous, and it is a large gladiola stamp, and I want to do some watercoloring with this. I'm using my original MISTI to stamp onto Fabriano Artistico cold press watercolor paper. I have stamped it with Wow Ultra Slow Drying Embossing ink, and I'm going to heat emboss it with rose gold embossing powder from the Ton Stamps. And then I'm going to do some quick watercoloring. This is the Altenew watercolor pan set, and it's just a fun little travel palette. It has a really nice range of colors in it, so you really don't need much mixing or blending to work with this. It's just kind of a fun travel set, so I couldn't resist, so I had to give it a try. I am using a Faber-Castell water brush, which is my preferred travel brush as well, and this just makes it very simple. The orange yellow combinations, actually the reds and the pinks in this set too, I really kind of like how simple they are. There's very little color mixing involved. It's just a really quick and easy way to do some coloring. So here I am using my water brush to wet the paper. I'm just kind of painting first with water, my daffodil blooms, and then I'm going to just pick up some color with the tip of my water brush and drop it right in there. I'm using some of the darker oranges right underneath the petals and just kind of dropping that color in and then manipulating it with the brush. I'm just kind of pushing that outwards to the ends of the tips of the petals, adding a little more yellow, kind of using that kind of tangerine color orange in there too. But it's just a very simple and fast way to color some images. Working on that upper bloom and a little bit of that bud that hasn't quite opened here. Again, I'm going to start with that darker orange and kind of just pull that color in, adding a little bit of the lighter tangerine orange and the yellow towards the tip of the flower. And just really using that water brush to push that color makes it very quick and easy. I do have another piece of watercolor paper next to me, and that is where I can either test colors or clean off the tip of my water brush. There's a little push button right on the barrel of this water brush, and I can just push a little extra drop of water and clean the tip of my brush very quickly and easily that way. Now I'm going to start working with the greens. In this palette there's only a few greens. I think if I could change this up just a little bit, I would add maybe one more step in there for the green, but with a little bit of imagination and just a little play, you can work with these greens quite well. The very lightest green is very yellow, so I have put that down first onto the stem and along the kind of that bud, and now I'm bringing in sort of that grass green and then that darker green along the edges. At first when you put these colors down, they do look kind of dark, but they dry much lighter, so I'm actually going to be adding more color as each of these dry. Now I'm letting my green dry and I'm going to go back to my flowers. I'm mixing in a little bit of brown into my orange just on the lid of my palette, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit of shadow and shading beneath those petals. I'm not going to do a lot of, trying to build a lot of dimension with this. I want it to be a very soft watercolor, but I want to have just a hint of definition of those petals. Now I'm going to start working on my background. I have mixed up some violet because I love the contrast of the yellow and violet together. So I'm going to just do a very faint background. I really have very little color on the tip of my water brush. Just doing a very quick wash to the right side of the card. This is where my sentiment is going to be, so I don't want to add much color to this side. And on the other side, I do want it a little bit deeper. So first I'm going to wet the paper, and then I'm going to drop the color in. I can go much deeper, just a large drop of my mixed up violet there. And I can push that around the base here and along the left side of my card panel. This is going to give me just a hint of shadowing from this flower stem. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. While I'm working on that, I'm going to add just a little more shadowing to my blooms. I haven't used much water for my background, so it's going to dry very quickly. So I just maybe a minute or two. So just to add a little more depth to my flowers, a little more of that brown color kind of muddies that shadowing underneath some of those petals to give it just a little bit of dimension. Now I can come back in with a second layer of color to my background. You can see I had just kind of a little bit too much water there, so I just kind of dabbed that off with a cloth. And I'm going to add more color to the base and along that left side. I'm just pulling that color to the edge of my page and just underneath a few of those petals. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back to my original Misty to add my sentiment. Once I have that lined up, I'm going to use Gina K's Lovely Lavender ink, and I'm going to stamp several times to get the color deep into the texture of the watercolor paper and nice and dark. And then I'm going to clean my stamp and I'm going to heat emboss. So I went right back to my embossing ink, and this time I'm going to heat emboss with clear powder, so the violet of that Lovely Lavender ink shows through. And there's my finished panel. All I have to do is adhere it to a white card base, and my card is finished. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.